What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today, I just realized that PFF dropped this nice article showing their top 10 at every single position in the 2023 NFL Draft. So, if you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Would love for you guys to support the community. We are on our way to 8K, 9K, 10K. Y'all know exactly how numbers work, but let's jump right into this because this is their rankings at every single position, and I don't want to be extremely laborious. Let's just jump right into it. Thank God I do have PFF Premium because this would be a pain in the ass. Starting off with quarterbacks, you guys can jump to wherever you'd like. Bryce Young is their number one QB. Same for me. I did have a bunch of rankings videos for you guys, and behind the curtain, about a month ago, all the files got deleted with no backup. That's on me for not having a backup, but that's the reason why it's been a little bit slower in terms of bringing out my rankings videos. It's very unfortunate, but I'm not going to make any more bullshit excuses. That is the way it is. But Bryce Young being the number one QB, it makes total sense. Will Levis being their number two, they've always been riding Will Levis so hard that it's a little bit suspect, but I do see some flashes from Will that in the right offense, I could totally see him being a consistent starter for 10 years. Just you have to be with someone who understands how to limit quarterbacks that are a little bit more risky in terms of their decision making. He does have crazy arm talent. He does have a great leadership ability. I just caution over other guys who probably have a higher ceiling. But CJ Stroud at their quarterback number 3, again, you could see the big board rank is very, very close. But CJ Stroud, he had a phenomenal game versus Georgia. It was honestly the best way he could have ended his career there at Ohio State. I kind of said the same thing about Tom Brady last year when he got beat by Matthew Stafford, just having some crazy shit going on with Cooper Kupp at the end. I was saying, it's the best way to lose. It's like you're not the reason why you lost. And obviously, CJ went out on that type of a high note as well. So power to him because he did a wonderful job. Again, could not have ended better there at Ohio State without maybe a national championship, but the best way he could have lost, hands down. I do have to be a little bit honest here. I do still have some concerns with him in terms of his decision making because he was very centered around a very structured offense. A lot of forced balls that I saw that could end up being pick sixes in the NFL, but we are humans. We all make mistakes, and I know that he's not going to be in that offense anymore. He is my QB2, so I'm not going to try to crap on him, but I do have to bring up that there is some form of negative for CJ Stroud. He also had probably one of the best offensive lines in college. So again, another thing to note. AR to me might move up into my number 2 quarterback position depending on how his mechanics look at the combine. His decision making is extremely raw, as it probably would be, given the fact he hasn't really played much, but he has a great frame. He has the best arm I have ever seen. I didn't study back when Josh Allen was coming out, so I cannot say from my own studies on Josh Allen that he would be better or worse. So throw that out the window. The Joe Burrow draft was the first one where I really started digging into the players, and Anthony Richardson has the best arm I've ever seen. The fluidity of his motion is incredible. I just think that his overall leg mechanics causes a lot of inaccuracy. He just looks like he's a little bit clunky, but in terms of what I've seen in the offseason, a lot of workout videos, but in those workout videos, you can tell that his mechanics are being tweaked. To me, that's awesome. It shows that he has that work ethic to work on himself, even when he doesn't necessarily need to. He'd still go high regardless because he has that big frame, big arm, and a lot of youth on his side. But AR, hands down, should be at least considered as a top 2 quarterback in this class. Maybe he shouldn't be the top 2, but he should at least be in that consideration if he does prove to be willing to work on himself, because that work ethic is something that's going to pay dividends in the long run. And it's kind of why Jalen Hurts has become such a good quarterback. He wasn't great when he first started, but he continued to work on himself and get better year after year after year. And that is exactly what you're looking for with someone with a way higher ceiling than even Jalen Hurts. Tanner McKee, it's really not that hard to it's really doesn't matter that much who your QB5 is, whether it's Hooker or McKee. They're both similar styles of quarterback in terms of just lower ceiling, higher floor dudes with some experience in a very non-NFL offense. I don't think Tanner McKee's that great. He's not very mobile. He does force balls, and I don't see him utilizing the receivers around him as well as he should have. He didn't have the best receiving talent, but I do still see guys like Benjamin Jurasic as well as Michael Wilson when Michael Wilson was healthy, that is. And I didn't really think he used them as well as he should have. So I do think there is more to be had there. He probably will have on par, if not maybe a little bit better of an NFL career. The offense at Stanford's absolute butt cheeks, and then also the offensive line, not too bueno either. I would say that he could have a better NFL career, but I would not be putting him anywhere near my top 32. He's, I think, around 70 on my big board. Just there's a lot of issues, and there's not very much vertical movement in terms of where he could rise in terms of where he'll be on quarterback rankings. Just there's not much room for him to get better. So it's a little bit unfortunate. He also seems very boxed into certain schemes. I could see a team maybe like the Titans trying to use him if like a 3rd round pick, which is what I just did with Broshmo. So check out that video. Hendon Hooker, yeah, I think I might have Hendon, like based on talent wise, Hendon Hooker should be higher, but that's just because he's a really damn good athlete. He's 25 years old coming off injury. That's just the issue. And he's in an air raid offense. It's really tough to say that that's going to translate to the NFL, but again, he's still, in my opinion, talent-wise better than Tanner McKee. It's, again, age, injury to something that is your primary ability. So I do have to worry about that. I don't think the arm strength's that great, but he has a great rainbow ball. So, he can't throw it 7 feet off the ground, 45 yards. It's not going to be one of those type of passers. But he does have that rainbow ball that does seem to be pretty damn awesome 60% of the time. Aiden O'Connell, he's pretty solid. He's nothing special. I don't think that he'll probably be like a 3rd stringer at best. Jake Haener, I love his mentality. He has one hell of a high level of tenacity to him. Just somebody that you want on your team. I'd rather have him than Aiden O'Connell myself. Stetson Bennett, when he's not getting locked up in Dallas, he does also have that great leadership ability. Going to be someone who will probably be, 7th rounder, maybe taken a little bit earlier because of the fact he has 2 natties, but we don't really see those guys have very much success because he wasn't the primary reason for it. And then Clayton Tune, I saw him plenty of times here at SMU. He's a good enough quarterback, but I just think that he's going to have a better career in the USFL or the XFL. It's just not a very good QB class. So with that, we are going to bounce back and look at the running backs. So giving a quick time check here. 8 minutes is not too shabby on going after one position, especially the most important one. Bijan, I don't really need to explain this too much. He is just the most all-around running back. And we all know that if PFF ranks him in the top 32, that's a pretty big thing. He's a very talented back. He tested 4.7 in high school, which probably means he might test like 4.55 now. That was my big knock on him. It's why he didn't grade out as my number 1 running back. It's fumbles and his vertical speed. But he does have unbelievable quickness and just his change of direction is incredible. His vision out of the park. So you're getting probably a 10-year starter there with Bijan, one of those few guys who will be worth that 2nd contract. Jahmyr Gibbs, he is my RB3. He is awesome too. Great player. He reminds me of Alvin Kamara. He has that build as well. Hopefully not the personality concerns, but yeah, he definitely doesn't seem to have too many red flags. Zach Charbonnet, my buddy from high school. Love to see him getting some respect. I think he needs to be in a warm climate. I don't think he'll work very well in cold climates. Just that's how he played at Michigan. Didn't really turn out too well. Became a monster at UCLA. Could be a system, but honestly, based on his injury history as well, which I have a little bit more insight than other people, I would probably recommend him staying in the warm areas. But it's definitely going to be a really good complement back to a more speedy, high upside rusher. So intrigued to see where he goes. Devon Achane, to me, he might be inching in on RB2 as well. So he and Jahmyr Gibbs are kind of tied for me. Zach is RB6. And, I really love Devon. He tested out 4.24 a little bit ago. We'll see what he actually does test out at. But he is awesome. Absolute freak of nature in terms of athleticism. And at the end of his career, he ended it off as well as he could as well. I believe versus LSU, he had like something over 20 or 30 carries and over 200 yards, which for his style, you shouldn't be able to carry the ball 30 or 25 plus times. And he was able to do it dominantly. he's able to improve his game as well. He was my RB4 or 5 coming into the year, and even with that, he still was absolutely awesome, and he got way better. He got way better this year. So do not be surprised when Devon A-Chain is going to be one of those guys like, oh, how did we not see him? Dwayne McBride, somebody who I still need to update, so I'm not going to give too many thoughts on him, but he took a big step this year from the tape that I have seen. Just, he does have that tape from 2021 that was not too good. Tank Bigsby, another guy, he should have been one of those guys who was a first-round pick, and he took a big step back. He took a marginal step forward this year, but I would just say maybe not the best running back in the draft. I feel like he's kind of your Walmart version of Bijan Robinson at this point, which kind of hurts to say. Kendre Miller is awesome. I love him. He's great, and he's freaking 20 right now. So, he's young, he's explosive. I totally think he's going to be a badass, and I think he'll be a really good RB2 on a team, and he can honestly fill in for an RB1 for a little bit. When I do my rankings videos, I will be putting in dream fits because that's part of my favorite thing. The Cardinals might be one of my favorite fits for Kendre Miller for sure. Tyjae Spears, he obviously popped off at the Senior Bowl. He definitely looks like one of those guys with really good vision, but when I watched him even versus USC where he went off, there were some in-game, there were some moments where I was like, you didn't make the best decision. But I think big board rank of 100 is perfectly requisite, and I think maybe he's a little bit better in my eyes. So I might be saying like I'm kind of dragging him here, but I think I might be more favorable of Tyjae than even PFF. Sean Tucker, I would probably have him higher than Tyjae Spears and Kendre Miller, but he didn't take the leap either this year. I thought I was extremely low on Sean Tucker coming into the year compared to the consensus, and now it feels like it's kind of flipped. And then Roschon Johnson, so it sucks to see that my RB2 and Deuce Vaughn is not on here. I'm reacting to this live with you guys, but it is what it is. Roschon Johnson's a really good player. I cannot complain about that at all. Let's go and check out the wide receivers now. Starting off with our number 1 is Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison. I feel like it's pretty much almost everybody's 1-2. Some people have Jackson Smith and Jigba in there, but standard fare, you got Quentin Johnson 1, Jordan Addison 2. And Johnston, to me, like a lot of people are saying Kevin White. I don't think so at all. To be fair, I didn't watch Kevin White when he was, I believe, at West Virginia. Quentin Johnston, to me, looks a lot like DeAndre Hopkins. I could totally see him becoming a top 10 receiver in the NFL. He needs to be a little bit more aggressive when at the catch point, so he has a little bit of that Chase Claypool, like, bring it into him vibe rather than go out and get it. So I do understand that, but some of that percentage is Max Duggan just not being a great quarterback. Jordan Addison, he's electric. I just think that he's more system specific. That's why he didn't perform as well this year. Also, I'm pretty sure he wasn't healthy the entire year as well. He can make football just look so easy, and I love that for him. He's a really awesome player. He's also number 9 on my board. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I don't think that he's a wide receiver 1. He never has been a wide receiver 1 except for one game that he performed really well in, which is great. But you also have to perform better than in just like, what? Okay, that's incorrect. He performed pretty damn awesome. You have to have more experience under your belt as a wide receiver 1 to make a claim that you're a wide receiver 1. He's never been the number 1 receiver on his team, talent-wise. I know a lot of people will try to disagree with that, but I'm sorry. He's not better than Garrett Wilson. I don't think he's better than Chris Olave, and he sure as hell is not better than Marvin Harrison. I don't believe he's remotely close to Emeka Egbuka either. So you're kind of getting wide receiver 5 on that team, and he's still, to me, worth that late first-round pick. He's still a good player. I would not put him as my wide receiver 3, but he definitely belongs in that later first-round territory. I think he'd be a better slot option, or you can press him to the boundary if you already have some nice, nifty slot weapons. Zay Flowers is awesome. I have him at 22 as well on my board, so nice to see him there. He is super electric. Does remind me of, like, the range to me is Steven Sims to Antonio Brown. More weighted towards Steven Sims, but I'm a big Steven Sims guy. I love watching him play. Just somebody who's really awesome with the ball in his hands. And, I wish he could shed tackles a little better, but he also added 13 pounds to his frame, so I'm sure he has a little bit better ability now. I'm intrigued to see if he's still going to run a very fast 40, because when you put on what is that, roughly 10% extra body weight, then it might slow you down a little bit. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Tank Dell, wide receiver 5, to me is a little bit ridiculous. I love Tank Dell, and I watched him absolutely eat SMU alive in person. And, I think that he's an awesome route runner. I think he's kind of like your value brand Devontae Smith, but, he does have some technical flaws here and there. And that was pointed out by, I think it's, I'm forgetting it. They're a quarterback and wide receiver academy on Instagram, but they pointed out that as well. His form is absolutely impeccable until he gets out of his break, because then he pushes outside of his frame. Could end up leading to ACL tears. There's a lot of stress on the knee at that point. I think that's something that can be easily tweaked, but that size still is a little bit of a concern to me when I am seeing guys like Zay Flowers, like Emmanuel Forbes putting on that extra weight, that extra muscle. I'm intrigued to see if Tank Dell is able to do that too. Don't know if I could take him in a top 5 receiver situation. Josh Downs is super dynamic. I love seeing him up this high as well. Really damn good receiver overall. Just going to be, he's also played on the boundary. Probably going to be stuck slot primarily, but a really good player. I would love to see him go to a situation. I would honestly like to see him stay in the South and go. I mean, hell, you could see him to the Panthers. You could see him go even, let's just say, to the Titans, where he'd have a really good role carved out for him as a guy to get the ball in space and absolutely kick ass down the field. Kayshon Boutte, just personality concerns, and that's primarily the issue. His talent level is not really questioned. Jalen Hyatt is next. I have him actually higher. He is, I believe, my wide receiver 4, but he's somebody who has game-breaking speed. He's basically the better version of Quez Watkins, so that's why I think that he'd be a really good addition to a team looking for a deep threat. Michael Wilson is great too. I love him. He's graded out as a 3rd rounder for me, and that's exactly where they have him as well. He made Christian Gonzalez not look too bueno. And some douche nozzle decided to point out the stats for that game. I'm sorry, if you're going to look at stats and not actually what happened, then I'm going to be honest, you're going to be pretty disappointed with your evaluations if you're going to make a big board off of stats. And then Rashee Rice, I think there were some guys who were criminally taken out of this list. I think Justin Shorter is the one guy who, for me, nobody's going to talk about, but I'm still going to herald him as a round 1 receiver. I think he's absolutely incredible. Other guys of note, because I do like a lot of receivers in this class, obviously Xavier Hutchinson. Don't really expect him to be considered a top 10 receiver, though, by a lot of people. Besides that, honestly, Jaden Reed, that's the only other dude who I have that is within that range as well. But, gotta show some love to Raw. I'm happy to see that he's getting some support here from PFF, as he has been all year long. Tight end wise, let's see, because this is the battle of mid after their number 10 spot. Kincaid is also my tight end 1, the only one in my top 32. Mayer is tied number 2 with Musgrave as well as Laporta. So I'm happy to see Laporta's getting back in the rise. He was my tight end 1 starting out the year. And, he's pretty damn good. Yeah, I have Laporta, Mayer, and Musgrave tied at 2, as well as Josh Wiley. But I know damn well that nobody's not as high as Josh Wiley as I am. Darnell Washington's a freak. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. He's a beast. I think I'd rank him higher than 72. And I believe I have. Yeah, I have him at 60 on my board. So I have Darnell higher. Tucker Kraft, then Josh Wiley. So if you put Josh Wiley up here with the Laporta, Musgrave, Mayer group, I think I'm tracking exactly in terms of their order. And then after this, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm starting to rank the bums of the class. No disrespect to Luke Schoonmaker, Will Mallory. Just, I don't really think that these guys are going to make a roster. So I tend, especially since I'm in school, to value my time and focus on the guys that really are going to make a difference for your team, as well as my own and the Steelers. Tackle-wise, Paris Johnson is going to be, I believe, my tackle 4 or 5. I just think that he has an awful anchor, and I think that you can't get over that when the speed to power gets even better. That's why people are talking about Lucas Van Ness as high as they are, because he schooled Paris Johnson, but I don't know why people aren't talking about it more. Paris Johnson just can't hold up to power, and a lot of guys in the NFL have one hell of amount of power. Then Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. He is my offensive lineman one. I do not believe that he has the arm length to stand up as a tackle in the NFL. That's my only concern, but I'm not counting him out yet. I just have a major concern. That's why I cannot list him as a tackle. Broderick Jones is great. He just ended up looking like a fool versus Isaiah McGuire, who I now have lower than him, but that's just because Isaiah McGuire, well, we'll talk about him when the time comes. Anton Harrison is great. I love seeing some love for him as well. He's my tackle 2 in this class. He was tackle 1 starting out the year. DeJuan Jones, I'm happy to see him get that meteoric rise. I have him as well, and I think I probably want to move him up a little bit more too, but I have him at 56 on my board. Somebody who has some awful tape during the year and some incredible tape, but definitely looks like he's leaning more towards the incredible tape as of the Senior Bowl. Matthew Bergeron, very solid player. I think they might end up being a guard in the NFL level. I'm not going to complain about them having him above Darnell Wright because Wright has a lot of flaws, but he's the most athletic tackle. He has incredible size, and he has some of those reps that are just absolutely locked down, similar to DeJuan Jones. I just think that's a little bit more consistent. I think Darnell Wright might be the best tackle in the class. That's why he's my OT number 1, but I do understand the criticism for it. Jalen Duncan is next. I just think this guy is absolutely useless, but he does have incredible athleticism. And, for a team maybe like the Niners who do have someone like Trent Williams that could teach him actually how to play, it could be pretty solid. But, seriously, just put on the tape. This guy has a hard time blocking anybody, and people point out the one rep he did well in the Senior Bowl. That's my only issue is, don't cherry pick reps. That's not how we roll here. That doesn't matter. It's how you play on every down that matters. Cody Mauch out of North Dakota State, probably also going to be a guard, but very solid player. And Tyler Steen is that consistent veteran. We are powering through to the interior of the offensive line. Gotta love a little Senior Bowl pick there. Osiris Torrance. It's a pretty bad interior class. I have Osiris as my interior 3. Steve Avila is pretty solid. I have him as my interior 4. But I have Luke Whippler. Actually, excuse me. Well, technically, yeah, guard-wise. Guard-wise, this class is complete butt cheeks. They're number 1, number 2. But I got Luke Whippler, John Michael Schmitz above him, as well as Olusegun Oluwatimi. Osiris has some of those Kenyon Green reps where it's like, what the hell are you doing, buddy? And I feel like he might have a pretty rude awakening in his first year. But he does have those dominant reps. I will give him credit for that. Steve Avila just never really surprised me, but he did handle Mozzie Smith very, very well. Luke Whippler, he's just the definition of consistency, and I would love to see him on a roster, especially like the Colts, where you're just looking for someone who's more consistent. John Michael Schmitz, he's somebody, he has some pretty bad reps in there, but another guy who's been pretty solid over his whole entire career. But Joe Tippmann, man, I got to rewatch him because he is the worst graded interior offensive lineman I've ever studied. Just that might also be telling you guys about how much of this interior class I have studied. But, he looked out of his depth, big time. So I'd be very surprised if my opinion changes that much. Andrew Voorhees is trying to still get him on the show, but, he's somebody who had a little bit of a fall off, just injuries piling up with a different system. I'm sure that, he's more pigeonholed into that day 1 starter in a certain system, but maybe not into another. Olusegun Oluwatimi, I love him to death. You take off that 100 mark, and that's still below where I have him on my board. Olusegun is number 29 on my current board. In the right system, I think his athleticism is off the charts. He definitely has some flaws he needs to work on, but every single offensive lineman in this class has a lot of shit they got to work on. And I got to give a shout out. Someone called out Chandler Zavala in my DMs the other day. Still got to check him out, so I'm excited to see that. Jarrett Patterson looked like a fool at the Senior Bowl, so not really a huge fan of him. Jackson Kirkland. Oh, yeah. He talk about a guy who's fallen off a cliff. That is hashtag no bueno there as well. Going to the defense. Hallelujah. Let's have some fun here. Going off with Jalen Carter. I'm not really going to talk about it. I think that the pro day is going to be key. He decided to skip out in the Senior Bowl, on the Combine, which to me pisses me off a lot because if we're going to be honest, that's where he's supposed to shine and show everybody that he's a really good athlete. And I'm a little bit worried that he hasn't been training as hard as he should, so he's not going to test as well as he should. But if he does end up testing similar to the way Jordan Davis did, which is a high bar, but if Jordan Davis can do it, Jalen Carter can. If he doesn't test as good as that, he will be falling on my board because I will have genuine personality concerns in terms of his actual work ethic. And that's just because he looked out of shape during the year, and he's been in a rotation with guys who've always looked out of shape. And last year we saw that those draft prospects worked on themselves and got into shape after. So to see him not do it would be a big concern to me. Kalijah, I'm just praying to God he's over 6 feet tall. I hope his arms measure out well enough, and he does have unbelievable burst off the ball. He is my interior defensive lineman too. Brian Breezy, just somebody where he's had injuries. Okay, yes, they're not connected, but you got to stay healthy. It doesn't matter. And then, obviously, I'm not going to knock him for the fact that his sister is no longer with us. Just he also has very poor tackling, 30% missed tackle percentage. Looks like he's kind of clueless on the field half of the time, similar to the way Perion Winfrey was. I would not be too shocked to see Brian Breezy fall to the 3rd round out of nowhere, because we saw that with Perion Winfrey. We thought that he was going to end up being a late 1st round pick, 2nd round pick guarantee, and he fell to the 4th. And he had a lot of the same things that were going his way, just like Brian Breezy here. Mozzie Smith, he's just an absolute freak in terms of athleticism. I just saw that he kind of got used and abused by Steve Avila, and that does concern me. Siaki Ika, you could find him at 7'11", just ask any dude sitting down with a big gulp in his hand, and I'm sure he can eat up space as well. I'm just going to be completely blunt. I don't think Siaki Ika's good. I think it's going to be a waste of a pick, and I'm very excited for a team, hopefully like the Browns, hopefully like the Bengals or the Ravens, to take him and then just let the Steelers be saved from making a stupid decision. So finally, my Steelers could actually do something right for once, or maybe not do something wrong for once. Keanu Benton is miles better. He's somebody who I bagged because his 2021 tape is awful. He just didn't look like he was comfortable in his own body, and he was built very weirdly, and he seemed to train, and his body looks finely proportional. He's able to use it properly. Definitely somebody who gained a lot of my respect, and that's something I'm always willing to be wrong, just because I don't think being right is, everything. I just want to be right in the long run, and being the first to something is bullshit as long as you're finally there. And you guys just know I'm not going to BS you on any of my opinions. Siaki Ika has been one of those that I've been consistently against for a while. Moro Ojomo, I think he's all right. I like the guy who Keandre Coburn on his team that is heavier than him, and I think honestly plays just as well as he does. Jacqueline Roy, he's solid. Well, there you go. He's solid, if unexciting. He's solid. I think that he'll be fine. Just, I don't know why he would come out this year. I think he still had a year of eligibility. Kobe Turner, haven't seen him yet, so I'll get you guys back on that one. Gervin Dexter, man. He fell from 14 probably down to 150 on my board. It's just embarrassing. You just see zero effort, and it's really disgusting. I don't know what the hell happened, and it really hurts my heart. But let's go to the edge rushers here, and looking at it, Will Anderson, he's my number 1 player. I love him. Tyree Wilson at number 2. I understand. He had 50 pressures on the year and is raw as a pass rusher, so he has production even though he can still improve. So, yeah, he's a good run stuffer as well. Really good athleticism. Good player. I have him at number 13 on my board. Not going to shame him at all. I just have miles higher than him. Van Ness, I'm just not. One of the weirder prospects in the draft class, but one I'm willing to bet on. And that's just the thing. I am maybe a little bit more on the not willing to bet on him, and that's why I have him way lower. It's really depending on which side of the coin you're on, because Van Ness is a one-trick pony who can convert speed to power, and I can guarantee you PFF is saying, hey, we believe that you can tweak everything else. He has the foundation of speed to power. I don't think that warrants big board rank 12, but at the same time, I do understand that's probably one of the hardest things to find, and it's one of the key indicators of success at an edge rushing position. I just think there's a lot more missing. I don't know if you can actually train all of that. But Miles Murphy, he's great. Where'd he go? I wish they kind of wrote a little bit more than that. He just didn't take the step forward. And he's still number 5 on my board, but that's still a meteoric fall from where he was at number 1 in terms of the value. Just somebody who definitely didn't take the step that we were hoping for. His game versus Boston College in 2021 was the definition of like an eyegasm. You just watch that, you're like, oh my God, it's incredible. He didn't really have that this year, but he still had some plays that were incredible. It's why he's ranked number 19 for them, why he's ranked number 5 for me and other people. Andre Carter being this high is a big surprise. He definitely looked out of his water at the Senior Bowl, but in the right system, I think like with Bill Belichick, someone who can develop them very well, I think he'll be perfectly fine. Nolan Smith is incredible. I have him at 24 on my big board, and they have him at 26. He is extremely athletic. He uses his body well. Without that pectoral tear, I can guarantee you probably would have been a top 15 pick. Will McDonald, I mean, look at this. Ranked number 7, big board, 31. It makes sense. I mean, these guys are very talented players. Will was, I believe, my edge 4 starting out the year. I said he was 80% of KT. It feels very much like that. I'd be a little bit more concerned, but, they're definitely misused. They're at Iowa State, so, you can't really blame him too much for being in a shitty situation. B.J. Ojolari is higher on my overall board than he is ranked for them on their edge rankings list. He's number 7 on my big board, but still a good player. I think he just has that build to him. He took a big step up. I really do think he's going to be a stud. Of course, everything is subject to change when we do our final evals. Thule is someone who's rising up my board too. He could be around that 40 mark. Just a 290, he does move pretty damn differently. There's interior defensive linemen like Kalijah Cansey who are literally 10 pounds lighter than him, but playing on the inside, versus Thule is playing at a similar speed on the outside. Thule can be certainly a super weapon if used in the right hands. And then Adetomiwa Adebawore, I've seen people talk about him as like this like first round guarantee guy. He has crazy arm length for it, even though he's a little bit short. I'm excited to see how he's going to be able to play in the NFL. He looked really good at the Senior Bowl. I think he was grossly misused there at Northwestern, but at the same time, do you really expect much from a Northwestern DC? I'm not really on board with that one, so I do think that the sky's the limit for Adetomiwa, and I'm excited to see how the NFL uses him versus how he was misused in college. There's the image I like to use for my thumbnails. Hello, Trenton Simpson. Diane Henley. So as of tomorrow, I'm bringing on his edge rushing buddy, onto the show, Brendan Jackson. So stay tuned for that. But Diane Henley, he just wasn't spectacular. And that's the whole entire reason we saw Brendan Jackson is like, so I did a live stream on the Discord, which you guys can join. We do stuff over there when I'm not in the middle of getting absolutely destroyed by exams. I digress. But we ended up watching other players while trying to watch Diane just because it wasn't very exciting. And I hope I'm wrong. There's obviously more tape to be watched, but as of right now, not as high on Diane Henley. And I've been a supporter of Diane Henley for a while, and to see him take this rise, I'm very happy for him. I hope he makes a lot of money, and I hope he proves me wrong, but my eyes didn't say that so far. Trenton Simpson is, if I'm not mistaken, my linebacker 3. A really awesome player in the right hands. He is also going to be great. Jack Campbell's awesome. He's my linebacker 2. He's somebody who took a big step up this year, and he actually improved his athleticism. He is 6'5", so you do have some incredible frame, and then his intellect is awesome. So, I don't really believe that he has a low ceiling. I don't really see it, but you are going to guarantee, like, for the Lions, I'm totally gunning. Like, if he's there at that pick, whoo, you better take him. He's awesome. DeMarvion Overshone's like a damn missile. He's a little bit short, but he definitely took a big step up this year. I'm glad to see him back in contention for a round or for a day 2 pick. Drew Sanders, my linebacker 1. That is just kind of rude to put him there at 95, but I hope the NFL thinks that way and the Steelers somehow pick him up in round 3. That would be great. And yeah, I think Drew's awesome. He has unbelievable athleticism. Of course, he's going to be raw. It was his first time playing linebacker since high school this year. So, yeah, and he played phenomenally for that. He's going to be a star in the NFL. I have that feeling. Dorian Williams, he's really undersized, and I believe he's short as well. It's going to be intriguing to see his role in the NFL. I don't know if there's going to be a really good one, but he's good versus running backs blocking him. I know that. Ivan Pace, he is number 51 on my board. I love Ivan Pace Jr. He has a little bit of an attitude to him, and I got to see him in person here at SMU. Just somebody at 5'10", he's able to bully tight ends, guards, wide receivers. He shouldn't do that, but he does. Like, it's insane. He shouldn't be able to, but he does. Noah Sewell's been taking also a really big tumble. I mean, he hasn't had the best games, but his frame's awesome. Some of the tape in there is totally salvageable. So I'm excited to see maybe him have a bounce back in a better system, because it was a new DC this year. I mean, it was a new defensive system. I'm sure that I can have a little bit of wiggle room for Noah Sewell. Cam Jones, he was one of those dudes in week 1 I said popped off. He had I believe a season-ending injury, which sucks. But Cam Jones, really good player. I hope that he's able to, stick to a roster, because I think he can be there for a while. It's a nice rotational linebacker. Then Oapapo can kind of kiss both of my right and left butt cheeks. Not both of them, but, my right and my left. So, yeah, not a big fan of Oapapo. I don't think he's very athletic. I think he's definitely overrated as hell. Cornerback, let's hop right into this, because we are almost done. We are at 36 minutes. I got to keep a check on that, because, we in school right here. We got to make sure that we're not late to everything. But I want to get you guys some good content too. Devon Witherspoon is their number 1. He is, if I'm not mistaken, my number 4, but he's pretty damn close to being my number 3 as well. I'm just a super fan of 2 guys, technically 3. I'm actually lower on the corner class than a lot of people, even though I still said this is probably the best corner class I've ever seen. Devon Witherspoon's awesome, though. I just really need to see what those testing numbers are going to be. If he ends up running under 4.5, he will definitely take a rise up into that corner 3 position for me, depending on how Emmanuel Forbes tests. Because, Emmanuel Forbes sucks, then he might move up to 2. He won't. I'm just saying it if. But Devon Witherspoon's great. He has a great tenacity. I just think that he's a little bit limited athletically, and his zone coverage is a little bit to be desired for. I saw him get torched a couple times in the tape that I did see, but definitely somebody in sticky man coverage, one of the best, if not the best in the class. Christian Gonzalez got schooled up by Michael Wilson. Don't at me. Who cares if he didn't let up yards? The fact is, if the quarterback looked Michael Wilson's way every single play, Michael Wilson would have eaten him for lunch every single play. But yeah, Christian Gonzalez, I still have him at 35 on my big board. He's literally he is still a top 10 corner for me, and he's tied with a billion other corners. So he's tied for corner 5. Get off my ass. But Christian Gonzalez, I'm just having to be the negative side because he's big board ranked 10. Yeah, he has great size. He's great frame. He has great ball skills. And when he gets his hands on you, he can definitely kick your ass. But I have to just caution, there are negatives to him. Joey Porter Jr., my number 2 player in the class. I think that he's going to be similar to Sauce Gardner, but for a team that uses zone. He might be a top 5 corner by the end of his rookie year. Deonte Banks. Yeah, I think Deonte Banks is pretty damn solid. I have him as a early 3rd. I don't really have anything negative to say. He's a solid athlete. I just think his instincts are a little bit off. I don't like when they use him in off coverage, but if you get him close to receiver, I think he'll be perfectly fine. And he is definitely really, 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 really physically gifted. Tyree Stevenson's awesome. I was obviously really high on him. He was a top 25 player for me at the start of the year. Glad to see that he's made that rise back up into the top 35 for myself and top 40 for PFF. Forbes is my corner 2. I think he is phenomenal, and he's putting on extra mass. He's going to be an absolute freak. Garrett Williams, if he did not have that ACL tear, he would have been a top 15 pick for me as well. I think that his coverage ability is arguably the best in the class. THT, I've not studied myself. I've just watched him in person. I think he's just a really solid slot corner. And I don't really value those very highly unless they're game-changing. That's just me. I think there's a better slot corner in Clark Phillips. But that's me. Eli Ricks is great. He definitely took a step up. I have him in my top 50. Or maybe top 64. Where do I have him, actually? As a matter of fact, let's not eat my own words here. Eli Ricks is 61. So I think he's a great player. Just, this is such a deep corner class. It's weird to see a corner that will start at rank 63. And then Cam Smith, he's definitely a limited athlete. I think he's going to be running 4.5 or 4.6. And that's going to be potentially a nail in the coffin for him being a day one prospect. But I do want to also, again, shout out Clark Phillips because he deserves to be in this. Let's, last but not least, check out these safeties for us. So safety number 1, Brian Branch, no shit. He's going to be the one who will be taking day one. Antonio Johnson's in that range. He's just consistent. I think that he'd be really solid close to the line of scrimmage, maybe as a box linebacker and, maybe a nickel. But I thought he's a little bit underwhelming. Sidney Brown, hell yes. I have not had an all-22s tape study on him, but based on the tape that I got to see, as well as being able to have access to all the reps in the Senior Bowl, Sidney Brown's a freaking badass, and I have all the respect in the world for him. I might be putting him in my top 32, similar to the way I did with Jalen Pitre last year. Jamie Robinson was great too. I think that he's kind of like a worse version of Sidney Brown, which, I think this is pretty indicative of that. Jordan Battle, he's just, I don't know if he's a plug and play starter, but he's just a jack of all trades, master of none. Christopher Smith, in the right system, he's going to be kicking ass. I like him. JL Skinner, man, he would have been he should be way higher. He just tore his pec. That sucks. I think he's going to be a boss. I really do. I think he's going to be a freak. And, it just really sucks to see him have to deal with a torn pec as of now. Brandon Joseph, he has all the potential in the world. We'll see if he ever gets to actually reach it. He'll never reach the heights that we all thought he could, but, he definitely can at least reach maybe 70% of it, which is NFL quality. And then Ronnie Hickman, who somehow made it into the first round of some dumbasses mock. He's going to be one of those guys where, you'll have him as a safety 3, and maybe that's the highest he'll go. And Jair Brown, which is basically your on sale version of the guy who went last year. I'm tripping balls right now, but it is the way it is. So that's going to be the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.